Have you ever met someone and felt like they were hiding something? Not in a dangerous way, but in a silent, distant, unreachable kind of way? What if I told you most people wear psychological masks every single day, and they don't even realize they're doing it? The loud one? He's hiding insecurity. The confident one? She might be overcompensating. The always happy one? That smile might be holding back years of silent pain. In psychology, this is known as the persona, the version of ourselves we project to the world. It's not fake. It's protected. Because underneath that mask is the real self. Messy, emotional, afraid of being judged or misunderstood. So what do people do? They adapt. They shift. They wear what fits the situation, even if it suffocates who they really are. And here's where it gets deep. Most people don't even know where the mask ends and they begin. They've worn it for so long to survive in school, relationships, jobs, that the act has become their identity. That means you might think someone is arrogant when deep down they feel invisible. You might think someone is cold when they're just terrified of emotional rejection. You might misjudge because you're seeing their armor, not their wounds. When you realize this, everything changes. You stop taking things personally. You stop reacting to people's projections. You start looking beyond the mask, and you begin to truly understand. That's the power of this truth. It doesn't just change how you see others. It changes how you forgive, connect, and lead. And maybe, just maybe, it makes you reflect on the mask you might be wearing too. Let's play a game. Imagine someone walks into a room. Before they say a single word, before they make a move, before they even look your way, your brain has already judged them. Their status, their confidence, their trustworthiness, their threat level, their value, all of it decided in under 200 milliseconds. That's faster than a blink. It's called thin slicing, a phenomenon in cognitive psychology where your brain takes minimal information and forms instant judgments, often without your permission. And here's the crazy part. It's not always wrong. In some cases, these snap impressions are based on evolutionary survival mechanisms, ways to assess danger, safety, or opportunity in a flash. But in most of your daily life, it becomes a form of unconscious bias. The clothes someone wears, the way they walk, the tone of their voice, the shape of their face, even their posture. All of it becomes data your subconscious uses to label someone before you even realize you've done it. And if you think you're immune to this, think again. Because studies show that even trained professionals like doctors, teachers, and judges fall into this trap, making decisions in the first few seconds that influence outcomes far beyond that moment. But here's what truly matters. Awareness equals power. When you realize your brain does this, you slow down. You question your assumptions. You create space between stimulus and response. And in that space is wisdom. Because not everyone who looks confident is competent. Not everyone who's quiet is weak. Not everyone who speaks differently is wrong. When you pause before judgment, you gain something rare in today's world: depth. You start seeing people for who they actually are, not who your instincts assume they are. It's not about denying your brain's quick judgments. It's about transcending them. Because the more conscious you become of your snap reactions, the more human you allow yourself to be. Narration tone: calm, reflective, slightly eerie, as if you're revealing an invisible force that shapes us all. Ever wondered why yawns are contagious? Or why you feel tense when someone else is angry, even if they haven't said a word? Or why spending time with negative people leaves you drained, while time with ambitious people leaves you lit up? The answer lies in one of the most powerful forces in human psychology: mirror neurons. These specialized brain cells were discovered by accident in a neuroscience lab in Italy, when scientists realized that a monkey's brain fired not just when it performed an action, but also when it watched another monkey do it. And guess what? Humans do the same thing. Your brain has a built-in system that mimics the emotional states, behaviors, and attitudes of the people around you. You don't even need to think about it. You just absorb. Like emotional Wi-Fi. Sit next to someone anxious? Your heart rate rises. hang around people who constantly complain, suddenly your outlook shifts without you noticing. Surround yourself with disciplined, driven, purpose-filled minds. You start to level up, even without a conscious plan. This is why your environment matters more than motivation. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your surroundings. Because your brain mirrors what it's exposed to repeatedly. It's not just social influence. It's neurological imitation. And this is both your biggest risk and your greatest opportunity. You can either stay stuck around people whose habits pull you down, or you can curate your circle to reflect who you want to become. Ask yourself, who am I unconsciously becoming around these people? Are their thoughts shaping my own? Do their standards stretch me or soothe my stagnation? Because at the end of the day, you don't just catch colds from people. You catch their mindsets. Let's be honest. You've probably replayed a moment from your past 1,000 times. The time you stumbled on your words, the outfit you regretted wearing, that one awkward comment at the party, or maybe how your voice sounded on a video. You cringed. You overthought. You assumed everyone noticed. But here's the truth. They didn't. Welcome to the spotlight effect, a psychological illusion where you believe people are paying way more attention to you than they actually are. In reality, most people are too busy thinking about themselves to focus on you. You walk into a room thinking, everyone's staring at my hair. They're probably thinking, is my shirt wrinkled? Did I lock my car? This happens because of something simple. You are the center of your own universe. Your thoughts, your feelings, your insecurities. But here's the twist, so is everyone else. Everyone is walking around under their own spotlight, obsessing over how they're being perceived. It's not vanity, it's human wiring. This illusion makes you overestimate how much people notice your flaws and underestimate how quickly they forget them. And that's freeing, because when you realize this, you stop being paralyzed by embarrassment. You stop performing. You start living. You take more risks. You speak your mind. You dress how you want. You move through life with a quiet inner confidence, because you're no longer trapped in the mental cage of what will they think. Let that sink in. People aren't watching you like you think they are. They're busy worrying that you're watching them. So go ahead, laugh too loud. Speak your truth. Start the thing. Because you're not under spotlight. You're under freedom. Words can lie, but the body almost never does. You see, while someone's mouth is saying, I'm fine, their shoulders might be curled in. Their voice just a little too tight. Their eyes flicker down for half a second. That's the real conversation. According to research, over 70% of human communication is nonverbal. Tone, posture, micro-expressions, gestures, eye contact, silence. All of it forms a deeper language, one most people don't consciously speak, but instinctively understand. Ever walk into a room and feel tension before a word is said? That's body language. Ever feel safer around someone who smiles with their eyes, not just their mouth? That's body language. The truth is, we're constantly broadcasting signals. Your crossed arms may say, I'm closed off. Fidgeting fingers, I'm anxious. Raised eyebrows, I'm interested or shocked. And here's where it gets powerful. When you start reading body language, really reading it, you begin to see people beyond the surface. You notice when someone's nodding but doesn't agree. You sense when someone's smiling to hide sadness. You feel when someone's trying to dominate the room by their stance alone. It's like unlocking a sixth sense, a superpower in relationships, business, and everyday life. But it doesn't stop there. You can also use body language to reprogram how others perceive you and how you perceive yourself. Want to feel more confident? Stand, open posture, deep breath. Your body sends signals to your brain, which adjusts your state. Want to be more approachable? Relax your shoulders. Smile naturally. Tilt your head slightly. It's subtle, but it changes everything. Because while people might forget what you said, they'll remember how you made them feel. And much of that feeling comes from the body language you carried. So pay attention, not just to others, but to yourself. Because your body is always speaking. The question is, are you listening? You get 100 compliments, but one insult ruins your entire day. You achieve a goal, but all you can think about is the mistake you made along the way. Sound familiar? That's not weakness. It's not you being overly sensitive. It's neuroscience. It's called the negativity bias, your brain's built-in tendency to give more weight, emotion, and attention to negative experiences over positive ones. Why? Because in ancient times, survival depended on it. Your ancestors had to remember the location of the predator, not the beauty of the sunset. They had to be hyper-aware of danger, threats, pain, and fear, or they died. That hardwired system didn't disappear. It just adapted to the modern world. Today, the threats are different. A critical comment, a rejection, a piece of bad news, a social failure. But your brain still treats them like life or death. That's why one bad review hits harder than 50 good ones. Why you remember an argument from 10 years ago, but forget a compliment from last week. Why scrolling through negative news makes you feel more informed, when really, it's draining your soul. The worst part? Negativity bias doesn't just shape your perception of others. It shapes how you see yourself. You dwell on your flaws. You replay embarrassing moments. You assume people are thinking the worst of you, because that's what you've trained your mind to look for. But here's the power you now have. Awareness breaks the pattern. Once you know your brain is designed to highlight the negative, you can consciously redirect it. It's not about being blindly optimistic. It's about being consciously balanced. Start catching yourself when you spiral over small mistakes. Practice gratitude, not as fluff, but as cognitive counterweight. Choose to highlight progress, not just problems. Because the truth is, your life is probably better than your brain is telling you. And most people, they're struggling with the same distorted lens. So next time someone reacts harshly, seems insecure, or withdraws, remember, they might be trapped in their own negativity bias, too. Meet them with empathy. And meet yourself with grace. Have you ever known someone who smokes but says they don't really need it? Cheated but claimed they weren't really happy anyway? Said, "I'm fine," when you know they're not? Welcome to one of the most powerful and dangerous psychological forces in the human mind, cognitive dissonance. It's the tension we feel when our beliefs don't align with our actions. And instead of confronting the truth, most people twist their reality to reduce the discomfort. It's not lying in the usual sense. It's self-protection, a coping mechanism. Let me break it down. We all want to see ourselves as good, honest, and consistent people. But life is messy. We make choices that don't always match who we think we are. So what does the mind do? It bends. It rewrites the story. It edits the memory. I yelled because they deserved it. I didn't fail. The system was rigged. I wasn't rejected. They just couldn't handle me. This isn't just them. It's you. It's me. It's everyone. And the deeper the dissonance, the harder it is to face the truth. A man who values loyalty but cheats will either deny his guilt or devalue the relationship to justify the betrayal. A person who prides themselves on being health conscious but binge eats, they'll call it a cheat day, not an addiction. That internal war, it's exhausting. And it shows up in broken relationships, unhealed trauma, and cycles of self-sabotage. But here's where things get powerful. The moment you notice your own dissonance, you have a choice. You can either justify it or transform it. That's the uncomfortable truth behind real self-growth. You have to face the contradictions in yourself, without shame, but without excuses either. Ask yourself, where am I pretending? What do I claim to believe, but act against daily? What truths have I buried to protect my ego? When you become honest with yourself, you'll be amazed how clearly you begin to see others. Because most people aren't evil. They're not even liars. They're just trapped in their own mental tug-of-war, trying to silence the guilt, avoid the shame, and stay okay. But the strongest minds aren't the ones who pretend they're perfect. They're the ones who walk straight into dissonance and choose to realign. Not overnight, but honestly, consistently, courageously. That's what makes a mind unbreakable. Ever been judged harshly by someone, and it just didn't make sense? You were kind, they called you fake. You were honest, they said you were rude. You stayed silent, they accused you of arrogance. It stings, doesn't it? But what if I told you? Most of the time, what people say about you is actually about them. This is the powerful and often overlooked psychological mechanism called projection. When someone carries thoughts, fears, or insecurities they haven't dealt with, they project them onto others. It's like an emotional mirror, but the reflection isn't yours, it's theirs. Let's break it down. A man who secretly fears weakness mocks others for being soft. A woman who feels unattractive criticizes other women's looks. A person who lies often constantly suspects you of dishonesty. Why? Because it's easier to attack you than face themselves. Projection is the mind's way of saying, I don't want to own this, so I'll pretend it's yours. It happens in relationships, in families, at work, even on social media. You'll see people insult others with surgical precision, calling out flaws that oddly reflect their own shadows. And if you're not aware of this, you'll start believing their judgment is truth. But here's what unbreakable minds know. Judgment often reveals more about the judge than the judged. It doesn't mean feedback can't be valuable. But when criticism feels irrational, intense, or oddly personal, stop. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this about me or about something they're avoiding in themselves? Because when you understand projection, something powerful happens. You stop taking everything personally. You develop compassion, even for those who attack you. And most importantly, you start recognizing your own projections. Because yes, we all do it. That time you got angry at someone for being lazy, maybe it hit a nerve because you were avoiding your own work. That time you thought someone was too proud, maybe you were feeling unseen and their confidence felt threatening. It's hard to admit, but it's also freeing. Because the moment you take responsibility for your projections, you stop living in reaction and start living in awareness. So next time someone judges you, ask, what does this say about them? And when you catch yourself judging someone else, ask, what part of me is being reflected here? That's not weakness. That's inner mastery. And it's how the mind begins to heal from blame to awareness, from reaction to control. That's the path of the unbreakable mind. Ever been judged harshly by someone, and it just didn't make sense? You were kind, they called you fake. You were honest, they said you were rude. You stayed silent, they accused you of arrogance. It stings, doesn't it? But what if I told you? Most of the time, what people say about you is actually about them. This is the powerful and often overlooked psychological mechanism called projection. When someone carries thoughts, fears, or insecurities they haven't dealt with, they project them onto others. It's like an emotional mirror, but the reflection isn't yours, it's theirs. Let's break it down. A man who secretly fears weakness mocks others for being soft. A woman who feels unattractive criticizes other women's looks. A person who lies often constantly suspects you of dishonesty. Why? Because it's easier to attack you than face themselves. Projection is the mind's way of saying, I don't want to own this, so I'll pretend it's yours. It happens in relationships, in families, at work, even on social media. You'll see people insult others with surgical precision, calling out flaws that oddly reflect their own shadows. And if you're not aware of this, you'll start believing their judgment is truth. But here's what unbreakable minds know. Judgment often reveals more about the judge than the judged. It doesn't mean feedback can't be valuable. But when criticism feels irrational, intense, or oddly personal, stop. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this about me or about something they're avoiding in themselves? Because when you understand projection, something powerful happens. You stop taking everything personally. You develop compassion, even for those who attack you. And most importantly, you start recognizing your own projections. Because yes, we all do it. That time you got angry at someone for being lazy, maybe it hit a nerve because you were avoiding your own work. That time you thought someone was too proud, maybe you were feeling unseen and their confidence felt threatening. It's hard to admit, but it's also freeing. Because the moment you take responsibility for your projections, you stop living in reaction and start living in awareness. So next time someone judges you, ask, what does this say about them? And when you catch yourself judging someone else, ask, what part of me is being reflected here? That's not weakness. That's inner mastery. And it's how the mind begins to heal from blame to awareness, from reaction to control. That's the path of the unbreakable mind. Picture this. You meet someone for the first time. They're well-dressed, confident smile, firm handshake. They speak clearly, look you in the eye. Almost instantly, you think, wow, they must be smart, reliable, probably kind, maybe even successful. But are they? Or are you under the spell of something called the halo effect? This psychology principle explains one of our biggest cognitive blind spots. When we assume someone's positive trait in one area means they're good in every area. It works like this. If someone is attractive, we also think they're intelligent. If they're charismatic, we assume they're trustworthy. If they're successful in business, we might think they have a great moral compass. But the truth? None of that is necessarily true. The halo effect is a shortcut, a mental bias that helps us make snap decisions, especially when information is limited. And while it can help us move through the world quickly, it also causes us to misjudge people badly. Think about celebrities who seem wholesome until scandal breaks, or the boss who seems like a great leader until you see how they treat their staff, or the person you dated who seemed perfect until the mask slipped. That's the power and danger of the halo. It creates illusions. And here's the twist. There's a reverse version too, called the horn effect. It's when one negative trait, like a messy appearance, nervous tone, or social awkwardness, makes us assume someone's incompetent or unfriendly. We've all done it. Walked past someone who looked sketchy, only to realize they were kind. Dismissed a quiet coworker, only to learn they had brilliant ideas. So what do you do with this? You pause the judgment. When you catch yourself thinking, he seems confident, I bet he's smart, ask yourself, am I being fooled by the halo? When you write someone off too quickly, pause and ask, am I seeing clearly or through a lens of bias? It's not about being perfect. It's about being aware. Because awareness is power. The moment you recognize the halo effect, you start seeing people more accurately. Not as gods, not as demons, but as complex humans just like you. And in that awareness, you protect yourself from manipulation, disappointment, and regret. So remember, that perfect person, they're still human. That awkward stranger, they might surprise you. And your judgments, they say more about your filters than the person in front of you. Awareness makes the mind unbreakable. Have you ever watched someone stay in a toxic relationship, defend a terrible boss, stick to a belief that's clearly harmful, and wondered, why can't they see it? Why do people defend what hurts them? The answer lies in one of the most powerful and terrifying psychological forces, cognitive dissonance. It's the mental discomfort we feel when our beliefs don't align with our actions or when two truths clash in our minds. And to escape that discomfort, we bend reality to protect our ego. Let's break it down. Imagine you've invested years in a relationship. You've convinced yourself, this person loves me. They're good. This is what I deserve. But deep down, the reality is breaking you. If you accept that truth, you also accept that you wasted time, ignored red flags, and betrayed yourself. That's painful, almost unbearable. So instead, you defend the relationship. You find excuses. You say, they're just stressed. Maybe I'm too sensitive. This is normal. Why? Because admitting the truth would shatter your self-image. And that is what cognitive dissonance protects us from. It's the armor of the ego. But here's the tragedy. That armor? It keeps you in pain. It chains you to lies. It makes you loyal to suffering. And it's not just relationships. It's everywhere. People defend toxic religions because leaving would mean admitting they were wrong for decades. People justify harmful habits because quitting would mean facing their weakness. People cling to broken systems because accepting the truth would flip their entire identity. And guess what? You're not immune. Neither am I. We all feel the pull of dissonance. But here's the difference: awareness. When you feel that tightness in your chest, that inner war between truth and comfort, pause. Ask yourself, am I protecting a lie because I'm afraid of what the truth will cost me? Yes, the truth hurts, but hiding from it hurts longer. The path to a truly unbreakable mind is not paved with denial. It's paved with brutal honesty, with looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I've lied to myself, but I won't anymore. That's when healing begins. That's when change becomes possible. So, the next time you see someone defending what's clearly hurting them, don't mock them. Don't judge. Understand them. Because behind every irrational defense is a scared inner child trying not to fall apart. And when you realize that, you begin to see people and yourself with compassion. Now that you've seen what really shapes how people think, act, love, lie, grow, and protect themselves, take a breath. Because this wasn't just a list of random psychology facts. It was a mirror, a flashlight into the corners of the mind most people never dare to look into. You learned that people's behavior often reveals their wounds, not their truth. The spotlight isn't on you, and that's your greatest freedom. What we say isn't always what we feel. Confidence can be practiced, not just possessed, and that even the strongest minds bend when reality threatens the ego. But here's the real kicker. The more you understand people, the less they can control you, the less you judge them, and the more peace you find. This is the essence of the unbreakable mind. Not a mind that never hurts, but a mind that understands, and therefore cannot be shaken by shadows. So here's what I want you to do right now. If this video opened your eyes, hit like, so it tells the algorithm this was worth someone's time. Click subscribe, because this is just the beginning of rewiring how you see the world. And drop a comment below. Which of these facts hit you the hardest? Let's talk. Let's grow. Let's build an army of unbreakable minds. Because the world needs people who can think clearly, feel deeply, and rise above the noise. You're already becoming one of them.